All right, let's talk about cybersecurity. It's this huge topic that, affects every single one of us. But trying to understand it, it can feel like you're lost in some vast, uncharted wilderness. I mean, it's just so complicated and frankly, super confusing. So, where do you even start? How do we get our bearings in a space like this? Well, it all boils down to one fundamental question.
Yeah, this one. What is cybersecurity really? It sounds so simple, right? But the answer, not so much. Every single day we get hit with news about digital threats. We're just bombarded with it. But what does the big picture actually look like? If it were a country, what are its borders? What are the continents? What are the basic laws of this digital land that we're all desperately trying to protect?
Exactly. The second you even try to dip your toes into cybersecurity, you get slammed with this storm of buzzwords. It's just a total alphabet soup of jargon that's super intimidating and feels completely disconnected. It's like, imagine trying to find your way around a new city, but all the street signs were ripped from a dozen different cities. It's just chaos.
But what if there was a map? A real comprehensive atlas for this whole world of cybersecurity? Well, guess what? There is. It's called CyBOK. That stands for the Cybersecurity Body of Knowledge. It's this massive project funded by the UK's National Cybersecurity Program, where experts from all over the world came together with one goal: to bring some serious order to all that chaos.
And this quote right here, it just nails their mission perfectly. The whole point of CyBOK is to take all those scattered, random pieces and finally organize them into one single, coherent framework. It's literally about taking that chaotic pile of street signs we were talking about and turning it into a complete, understandable world atlas. So just how big is this atlas we're talking about?
21. The map is built on 21 distinct knowledge areas, or KAs for short. Now, the best way to think of these is like the official countries and continents that make up our new world map of cybersecurity. So come on, let's take a quick tour and see how this whole thing actually fits together.
Okay, so our first stop on the tour is the human context. And this is such a crucial place to start because it reminds us of something really important. Security isn't just about tech. No way. At its core, it's about people. This whole continent on our map is dedicated to things like risk management, law and regulation, and those tricky human factors, the stuff that actually determines whether a security system works in the real world or just on paper.
All right, so moving on from the people part, we get to the technical foundations. This is the absolute bedrock of all cybersecurity. We're talking about stuff like cryptography, the science of secrets. We've got authentication and authorization, basically proving who you are and what you're allowed to touch. And of course, the security of our operating systems and networks. Honestly, without this solid bedrock, everything else just crumbles.
And our final stop, we've arrived at the operational battlefield. This is the front line, folks. This is where the active defense is happening day in and day out. This area covers understanding malware and attack technologies, the nonstop work of security operations centers, the digital forensics that happens after a breach, and even studying the behaviors of the attackers themselves. This is where the action is.
So this is where the map really comes to life, because these knowledge areas, they're not just theoretical buckets, they're all connected. Let's take a classic data breach. It starts with the attack, right? That pulls from the malware and adversarial behaviors areas. Then it's spotted during detection, which is all about security operations. Next, the investigation kicks in, using forensics to trace what happened. The company's response? That's governed by law and regulation. And the final fix? Well, that relies on OS security and authentication. Bam! Just like that, one single incident has us hopping across 5 different continents on our map.
And the people who created CyBOK, they knew this. I love this quote from them. They say the areas are not orthogonal, which is a fancy way of saying they aren't separate, unrelated pillars standing on their own. Nope, they are deeply, deeply dependent on each other. So the map isn't just a list, right? It's showing us a living, breathing, interconnected ecosystem. To really get one area, you often have to know a bit about several others. And that right there, that interconnectedness is exactly why having a map like this is such a game changer. Think about it. Before the map, the whole field was stuck in these little silos. You had experts in one area who couldn't really talk to experts in another, Training was all over the place, and everyone was just reacting, constantly putting out fires. But with the CyBOK map, suddenly we have a common language. We get structure. We can finally standardize education and build a real foundation for people to collaborate globally. And this isn't just theory. It has very real, tangible effects. I mean, the CyBOK framework is now being used to certify university degrees and shape professional qualifications. It's creating that shared vocabulary we talked about, so now a deep dive expert in network security can have a meaningful conversation with a lawyer who specializes in data privacy. They can actually work together. In short, it's professionalizing a field that is absolutely critical, giving all of us a common language for a major 21st century challenge.
So, here we are. We finally have a map for this wild and complex world of cybersecurity. It gives us a shared understanding of the terrain, which is huge. But let's be real, a map shows you where the cliffs are, but it doesn't stop the storms from rolling in. So the real question it leaves us with is a big one. Now that we all have the map, now that we can all speak the same language, how do we, all of us, actually work together to defend the territory?